So good day. My name is Karina Serta. I'm the Communications Associate at the Saugeen Ojibway Nation Environment Office. I'm here today at the Medoki Senior Center in Nawash for our weekly webinar. We chose today to have it on our SON Bruce Power Environmental Monitoring Community Session, since that's what we're doing here today. I'm going to go get a few guests here to speak with you about what they're speaking with community members currently here in Cape Coco. I'll be right back. So we're here with Kathleen Ryan, the interim manager of the SON-EO. Kat, can you tell us a little bit about what's going on here today?
So tonight we're having some community information sessions, and they're about a couple of things. One of them is to showcase and let the communities know the work that the SON Coastal Waters Monitoring Program has been doing since May. So they've been collecting fish data and temperature data and other water quality data. So they have a lot of that information here to talk to people about. And then we've also asked Bruce Power to come because we know that a lot of people are concerned about the impacts of Bruce Power's operations on the environment, and there's concerns about, radiological impacts from radiation from the plant. There's other people are concerned about the impacts on water and fish. So we asked Bruce Power to come and talk about the monitoring that they do and what that means, and just give that opportunity for community members to ask questions. And one of the important connections here is that we started the Coastal Waters Monitoring Program in response to being concerned about the impacts of Bruce Power. So we've been saying, and SON has been saying for many years, that we wanted our own independent data. We wanted to understand what the impacts are. We wanted to be able to compare it to other places in the territory. We haven't been able to do that until this year. So we haven't analyzed any of the data yet, but that's when we'll be able to see and get more information about what those impacts could be, and then we can, let Bruce Power know what our information says versus maybe what their information says. But really, we're just here to share information and get people to ask questions and learn something new that they might not have known about already.
Well, that's really great. So I see that you guys have a whole bunch of booths set up and a little passport for people to take around. Can you kind of just talk people through the experience a little bit here today?
Yeah, so we've made a little passport, and it just has all the different stations on it. So there's the Coastal Waters Monitoring Program station, and then Bruce Power has a few stations about their their impingement and entrainment, which is sucking in of fish, killing of fish, thermal, so water that comes out of the plant that's heated, information about that. They also have information about radiological concerns and monitoring. And then they have some broader stuff about all of the environmental monitoring that they do around the site. And then also CNSE has a booth. So you just take your passport and you go around, and after you go to the booth, you get it stamped. And then for every stamp that you get some raffle tickets, and you get to enter to win some prizes here.
Okay, well, that's really great. Thank you very much. Yeah.
So we're here from Bruce Power today to sort of communicate what we're working with the SON Environment Office on. So we're trying to have a bit more collaboration on the Coastal Waters Monitoring Program. And the reason that's come about is we have an extensive environmental monitoring program at Bruce Power, and the data is ours and so forth. And sometimes community members might be concerned if the data is real. We do have the CNSE do an independent environmental monitoring as well to verify those types of results and impacts. But when Kathleen reached out to us about the Coastal Water Monitoring Plan, we figured it was a great way to sort of get independent data so the community can see what the environmental impacts are, as well as it expands our scope of data. So we're going to be sharing the data amongst each other, so we can provide the SON with our data and then get all that data across the peninsula and understand our environmental impacts better. Another reason we're here is to just explain more about our environmental monitoring program and the areas such as our thermal monitoring and fish impingement and entrainment, as well as our radiological and dose to public, so that we can got confused. Cut it. Oh, I thought I was going too loud. So.
Oh, good.
So yeah, and then another two surveys. We're providing two surveys tonight. One is on the mitigation analysis. It's looking at mitigation analysis of our thermal impacts as well as our impingement and entrainment. And we're trying to get feedback from community on their values and what's important to them so that we can do better in that area. The other survey is the diet survey. So currently at Bruce Power, we focus our dose to public calculations on a survey based on the geological area of about 10 kilometers around site. But we're trying to expand that to the communities up here to understand, what are their dietary habits and so forth, so we can understand what are the media we may need to sample and what the dose impacts might be farther from site.
Well, that's really great. I think that's all the questions we have for you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
So I'm here with Andrew from the CNSE. So he's going to give a bit of an overview of what they're talking with people here today at their booth.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, so we're CNSE, that stands for the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission. So we're the regulator. Bruce Power has a license from us to operate their facility. And so we're here just to have people become more familiar with what we do, what we are. Oftentimes, people sometimes confuse us with Bruce Power, for example. So we want to be clear that no, we're not Bruce Power. We're an independent regulator, and we have a lot of oversight over what they're doing. And what's really great here today is we're seeing a lot of different programs that the different groups are doing, the SON and Bruce Power. Bruce Power was showing its environmental monitoring program, and that's something that we review, we approve, we make sure that the environment's protected. But one thing that we are highlighting here is we have what we call an independent environmental monitoring program. So it's something that we do. It's not meant to replace what Bruce Power is doing, nor to replace what the SON's doing with their coastal monitoring program. Rather, it's just our way of doing a check of the environment to make sure that the people in the environment's protected. What's really neat this year is that we've been doing a lot of outreach with the Saugeen Ojibway Nation. In fact, in August, we had some of the team that was out here in the Saugeen Traditional Territories, in Saugeen and in Nawash, taking samples of different environmental media, vegetation, water, soils, and we also hired a local fisher, and he took us out to catch some fish on the Georgian Bay side and on the Huron side, and all that's now being analyzed. It's going to be reported on, and we publish our results on our website. So just again, we're, as I said, we're sort of the regulator, but we're also, we're not just reviewing what Bruce Power is doing, we're also going out and doing our own checks to make sure that things are protected.
That's really great. If you're able to say for anybody listening, do you have an estimate on when that report will likely be live?
Well, right now, if you are interested, we go every few years. So if someone were to go to our website, they would find the results of the 2016 campaign. So it's an interactive dashboard. You can click on the different symbols, water, air, soil, and see what the results are. But usually it takes the sampling, the analysis, and the publishing of the report. We anticipate that in 2020. Yeah.
Okay,
well, so stay tuned.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
So we're here today with Lee from Bruce Power, and she's going to give us kind of an overview of her booth and what they're talking about at their board.
Sure. So we're here to talk a bit in more detail and to collect information that supports our mitigation analysis as well as our dietary survey. So the two main reasons we're doing this is as part of our license to operate. We've requested to continue to operate till 2064. And one of the questions people have is, you've been operating for a long time, surely technology's been changing. Is there more you can do to further reduce your environmental footprint? So for two of the areas we're looking at today, it's for the fish impingement and entrainment, as well as our thermal effluent. So as a station we operate, we pull in cooling water, and we pull in the cooling water that can potentially pull in fish as well with it, both adult fish and really small eggs and larvae. So we monitor for both of those things. So the board's explaining the monitoring that we're doing, what some of the results look like, and then what some further technologies that are possible that we could think about, and the pros and cons of those technologies. And then for thermal, it's similar. So again, we've monitored both pre and post. We continue to monitor throughout time. And we've been really looking at where the thermal effluent travels and what that looks like. And so again, we're looking at different technologies that can, there are pros and cons of those technologies in terms of further reducing that.
That's great. Thank you very much. Okay. So now we have one of our environmental technicians and our lead environmental technician joining us from the Coastal Waters Monitoring Program. So welcome, Emily and Alicia. If you guys can give us a little bit of an overview of what people would find out if they came over to your booth, that would be great.
Awesome. So my name's Emily. This is Alicia. We are part of the Coastal Water Monitoring Program. We're a group of 3 women, and we are doing fish sampling and water quality testing. Is the most overall thing. We started in May, and we started with setting our temperature loggers, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. And then we are finishing all of our field work at the end of November. Our area that we cover goes from Tobermory on the Lake Huron side all the way down to Inverhuron. And then from the Georgian Bay side, we went from Owen Sound all the way down to Lion's Head. So we cover a lot of territory. When we're doing it, we're setting up fyke nets, which are trap nets that we set for 24 hours. And we're also doing seining, which is where we pull the nets along and then we just collect whatever we get at that time. A lot of this stuff we're doing is because we are trying to figure out the current conditions of the nearshore habitats, the wildlife, and the lake. We're trying to figure out the differences in between Georgian Bay side, Lake Huron side, and even the difference between one point to the other on the same side. We're also looking for future changes that will occur when things like climate change. So we're looking at the lake, the fish, the wildlife, and how plants and things will change in response to that. And we're also looking for potential causes for decreased health of certain locations. So one specific location that we're looking at is close to Bruce Power, Bay de Door. We're really interested in seeing what kind of fish we catch there, as well as the temperature, how it varies. So just an overview of what we do completely. There's 4 things that we are currently doing, which we're hoping to expand on. Right now we're doing temperature loggers. So we have them all set up. You guys will have a copy of the map. But we have them all set up throughout the territory on both sides. We also are monitoring the aquatic plants that we find. So we're looking at what kind of species are around our nets. Mostly we're finding rushes, stuff like that with common plants. A lot of the time though, or in some places we did find Phragmites. We're looking at the nearshore fish community, which includes turtles, fish, snakes, and other aquatic invertebrates, which is really interesting. Alicia will talk about it later, or we'll do an overview of it later, but we found a lot of different species this year, which was really exciting. And then the last thing we look at is water quality. So we go for every site. We are checking water temperature, pH levels, dissolved oxygen, and conductivity. So basically that's an overview of what we do.
So more in-depth water quality we sample is like the chemical, physical characteristics of the water, and it is used to compare for what life forms are living within the water system. We test the conductivity, which is the ability for the water to conduct electricity, and it also goes with total dissolved solids. So total dissolved solids is the measure of how much dissolved solids are suspended within the water, such as the minerals, the salts, metals that are within the water column. And it also
determines like the organic material which is dissolved within the water, such as from plants or other species that have are decaying within like the water system. And then we also do temperature. So we've set the temp loggers up, and we actually had just brought them up within the last week, and the lowest temperatures that we found were in June, which were in Lion's Head, which were about 4 degrees when we started. And then the highest temperatures were in Chiefs Point at 26 degrees, and that was in July. We also looked at the dissolved oxygen, which was, it is used for like the fish so that they can breathe like and use to survive. And then the pH, which is a measure of the acidic or alkaline water base in the water, and it also determines like what kind of fish species that we'll be finding or plant species that will be in the near shore that we find. Some other interesting facts that we found. The sites with the highest amount of fish was Ojibway Island, which we got 26,000 fish that we had brought in and sampled. So when we're sampling them, we are just taking the fourth length and total length, and also IDing the fish species. And then at Neoshiming Park, we got 14,000 fish, and then also another site on Ojibway Island, we got 64 fish species. Or no, sorry, 5,000 fish species. And then also another interesting thing is that round gobies were like pretty abundant within like all of our areas, but in Nottawaga was the highest amount of gobies that we found, was about 200. And then with the total number of species that we found, which were 64 different species that we found throughout our territory, and Neoshiming Park and the inlet, we found 24 species, like different species alone. And then in Sweet Corner in Neoshiming, we found 19 different species. And then in the fishing islands, Snake Pit in Neoshiming, and Gullies Bay and Stokes Bay, we found 18 different species. Which is really awesome. Yeah, so Alicia was saying we had a lot of different species that we were able to find this summer. We found 64 different species, which is really interesting. For myself, I had no idea very much about fish when I started this job, so it was really interesting to learn and be able to touch them and see them and know exactly what's coming and living around our territory. In a total, out of all of our nets, we had 62 nets set throughout the territory, whether we were seining or doing fyke nets. We sampled over 76,000 fish, which is a huge number. It was amazing. It was a lot. Some days, long days, but it was really great. And yeah, like, well, you guys will see the maps, but the locations, we have 23 different sites that we found throughout the area. And one really interesting thing that we found was a fish in particular. It's a brook silverside. And this fish has not previously been recorded in Lake Huron, which was really interesting. And we didn't just find it once, we found it in 4 different locations on both sides of, on Lake Huron side and in George Bay, which was really interesting. Yeah, so that was really cool. I guess lastly is what's next. So for next year, we hope to go back to all of the same sites that we visited this year, which will be a lot easier because we know where we're going and what we're doing this year. We're going to sample more water. So we're going to be looking for things like heavy metal and nutrients, more things like that instead of just temperature, like we explained. We're going to have more temperature loggers. We're going to test different depths, so where we're going to put them, trying to figure out what affects the water temperature. And I think that's about it.
Yeah. And then we're also looking into getting into the tributaries to do different work, so further upstreams, just to see what different varieties of fish are in the streams. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all very much for joining us here at our community meeting. Our next community meeting is tomorrow night in Saugeen, if anybody listening would like to join us in person there. Our next weekly webinar, if you'd like to join us again online, will be next Wednesday night at 6 p.m. as it always is. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.